Hey guys, it's Brad here from Yu-Gi-Oh! Team Plus One, and today I want to talk about some statistics involved in Yu-Gi-Oh! So, I've been really interested in this because I'm preparing for an event where I'm going to have to play 12, 13 rounds in a row, and I want to give myself the statistically best options, and exactly what that means is kind of up in the air. And I don't necessarily have a magic formula yet to figure out the best way to build this deck, or any deck for any means, but I have the tools to help you figure that out. So, Yu-Gi-Oh! Being luck-based, you can open up any combination of cards in your deck into your opening hand. Now, optimally, you wouldn't want to have any dead cards in your deck, but that limits your power. For example, if I have Brilliant Fusion in my deck, which is a really powerful card, I have to have a bad card in my deck, being Lazuli. Now, I could take that out, but unlimit my power. Now, you have to find a balance between your risk of opening a bad card and your reward being your combos you can pull off. Now, I'm not exactly sure what risk versus reward balance is right. And through testing, you can help figure out how you can maximize your rewards while minimizing your risks of opening bad cards. Now, also, besides just testing tons and tons of hands, you can use some math to help figure this out. So I'm using a hypergeometric calculator, which is provided by Stattrek.com, and I'm going to just show you how to use it. Now, it's not the answer to building the best deck. That still involves some intuition that you have that this computer doesn't. And I'm just going to show you how to use it and tell you guys it is actually a very useful tool when you're trying to consider how many copies of a card you should run. So if I have a population size, this is like my deck. So I have 40 cards in my deck. And now the number of successes in the population, this is going to be the number of copies of the card I'm looking at. So let's say I'm looking at how many times I can open up Aether. I have 3 copies of Aether in my deck. My sample size is going to be the number of cards I open in my hand. So if I'm going first, it'll be 5. And I want to see how often I open up X amount, which is exactly 1. So that's important. So the probability of opening up Aether, or any card that you run at 3, is about 30.1% chance of opening up exactly one of it. And that's the maximum you can get pretty much. Now, obviously there are cards like Tenki, and they can pseudo-search for it, but they're not for every card, so for any generic card, you have a roughly 30% chance of opening it. Now, you also have to balance how good it is, so if you want to see it as much as possible, it's probably a pretty good card, with how bricky it can be. So if I were to say, Aether's bricky, I don't want to see more than one of it, I also have to realize that there's this 3.5% chance of opening up 2, or a 3.6% chance of opening up 3 or 2. So there are some combinations of running 3 that can be bricky. So you have to take this into consideration when you're deciding if you want to run 3 copies of a card. So take Instant Fusion for example. Instant Fusion is a really powerful card. Norden is quite busted, same with Thousand Eyes Restrict. Now, if you want to see Instant Fusion as often as possible, do you want the risk that comes with taking in that card into your deck? Since you can only use 1 Instant Fusion per turn, any copies more than 1 is going to be dead. So, if you have 3 copies of it in your deck, it's a 3.6% chance you open a dead copy or 2 of it into your hand. Now, that might not seem like a lot, and that's fine. That could make you run 3 of it. But if that seems like too much for you, you might consider running 2, which makes it less likely for you to open it by about 8%, but it cuts the risk by a third. So with certain cards, you have to balance. If you are going to want to maximize just seeing it because there's no risk behind it, obviously go with it. There's no risk really behind running an Upstart Goblin or a Pot of Greed. So maximize those cards. But take into consideration, you can run 2 copies of a card, or even 1. Now, I don't know exactly what the best combination of cards is. That is a very broad question because it's for very specific decks, obviously. You're looking for your right deck. You need to get the feel for the deck and just see what works. But this calculator can help you understand the numbers behind what's going on in your deck more than you can, to some extent, because you aren't going to be able to test and get this exact average. I mean, this is, like, theoretically what should happen, and it probably won't, honestly. But using these numbers will give you a better chance of building a strong deck. So, if you're a little confused on what to do once you get the numbers, if you're looking for combinations of opening 2 cards, all you have to do is multiply them. You multiply the probabilities of each, and you'll get the cumulative probability. And yeah, if you have any questions on how to use this to find a certain probability of opening something, just leave the question down below. I'll try to figure it out. This math is really complicated, and I don't even understand what this calculator does, to be quite honest. So if you do have questions with it, just ask away. I'll try to help. Other people who probably are more knowledgeable on the subject than me could help. My brother's extremely smart with math, I know. But yeah, this calculator, along with your intuition, can help you build a stronger deck, because it can give you the numbers that you couldn't get from just straight testing. So give it a shot. Try incorporating it into your next deck you build, and maybe take a look at your current list. Is it optimal? Are you bricking too much for how powerful it can be? Or have you limited your power too much to have yourself aid in consistency? You just have to consider, what can I sacrifice for consistency and still be able to win? So that's about all I have on the topic for today, and I wish you guys the best of luck in your testing and building your decks as Nats is coming around, and I will see you guys later.